Welcome back to Friends and Enemas. My name's Lindsay. I'm your host, and I have two guests with me this week. You guys have met one of them, and then we have a very special guest that's online with us as well. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Anna. I am a labor and delivery nurse, and Lindsay and I are actually very good friends.
Yep. You've been on the podcast once before.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was so fun.
Season 1. So you're coming back for more, thank God. And we have another guest with us, Jaeda. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, it's Jaeda Simmons. Do I say my last name or is that weird?
Yeah, that's not weird. You can say whatever you
Okay.
want.
Sweet. All right, yeah, just Jaeda. And I work for Elite Health on the marketing team, and I'm a mom, wife, and a retired city girl. So yeah, that's me.
Retired city girl. You're living in the country now. That's why you
Yeah.
text me yeehaw.
Yep. I'm in Texas, so yeehaw to everyone.
Awesome. Well, before I go any further, I want to let the listeners know that this episode is going to be a little different than what you're used to. We wanted to spread a very needed message, and just want to let you know up front that we will be talking about birth trauma and maternal or infant mortality. So if this episode is not for you, then feel free to skip this one, but I just want you to take care while listening. So Anna, how long have you been a labor and delivery nurse? There's a very big reason why I brought Anna on this episode is because I definitely want this message to be heard, but I wanted someone who kind of has dealt with this with patients, and so we'd have like another voice of reason on here too.
I've been a labor and delivery nurse for 11 years now. I started right after nursing school. It's where I've been, where I will continue to be, and I just have such a passion for labor and delivery.
Yeah. How long have you been there?
So 11 years and going strong.
Awesome. Jaeda, do you want to just dive into your story, or how would you like to go?
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm like stepping back into like,
That time.
probably the worst day ever, but it's okay. I'm ready to just tell and like speak on it because I feel like it's going to help other people. And yeah, so I got pregnant probably like right after, no, during COVID. I would say it was during COVID, and I was just turned 25 and found out November 2021 and no, November 2020 going into 2021. Having a blast. Me and Mason get pregnant. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's okay.
God, okay.
You can be nervous.
Cut that out, Brad.
It's okay.
Cut that out. Okay, so we get pregnant, right? It's great. Weren't expecting it, did not ask for it, but you get pregnant when you're doing deed. Was in Vegas, went through, found out I was pregnant. First thing you do, see your OB. You move forward and you sit down with your OB. Not really sit down, but you go to your first appointment and they talk about your period and they talk about what's like, when did you conceive? And that's like a first appointment. That's all you get really. And I kind of felt like I was asking, like I thought I was going to get more from an OB, like someone finding out, my OB finding out I'm pregnant. Like it was just like, okay, well, all right, like pregnant. All right, let's go. I'm like, is there anything else? Like, you don't need to tell me anything. Like I'm sitting down here and I'm telling you I'm pregnant and I get like barely anything. It's like, all right, see you next appointment. I'm like, okay. So I go to my sister and I'm like, is this normal? And she's like, yeah, like that's what they do. Like you go in and out, you get your belly measured, you get your heart, you get the baby's heartbeat, and that's it. I'm like, why is there not more? Like, why is there not more? This is my first pregnancy. Like, wouldn't they be a little more like, like watching me?
Education or...
I don't know, something like telling me like what's the next steps or anything. Nope, didn't get anything. So I took it upon myself to change my OB. So I found a older Black woman and I was like, all right, this is great. Someone I feel like would, I don't know, just feel like my grandmother, my mom kind of gave me that vibe, but was still very like, I don't want to say cold, but just like how OBs are usually, I guess. And just kind of quick, straight to it, to the point, and then you're in and out. But I was like, okay, like I feel like I can trust her. So we go through the pregnancy, everything's normal. Do the 30 the scan at 30 something weeks. Like we're going through it. It's great. That was like, there's you get back the genetic testing. You get babies, what baby gender. You go to the scanning, and you feel like, all right, we're at the tail end of this. All there is left to do now is have this baby, right? And that's what I did. My guard automatically went down after that scan, and I was just like, all right, time to hang it, like just hang out until then. So, but I go to one of my appointments, and I'm 32 weeks pregnant. I go to my appointment, and I tell her, hey, baby's not moving as much. And when it's your first child, your first pregnancy, you don't really like know like what's right or wrong, or like what's normal feel, like what's, I don't know. You don't know what's right or what's wrong. That's it.
Yeah.
And how much baby should move or what feels right. So I'm just like, I'm just huge at this point. I'm like, I should feel every little thing this guy does. I don't feel much. And I sat on the end of the table, and she looked at me and said, well, does he move when you eat or drink? And I'm thinking back, I'm like, I don't really know. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, if he moves when you eat or drink, then it's all right. It's good. And so I'm like, okay, well, he does, I guess. And so I'm like, all right, that's it. Come back at 35 weeks. No, 35. It was like, I come back to my next appointment. I don't remember exactly, but I come back to my next appointment, and there's no heartbeat, no movement. And the first thing, I kind of had a feeling, because the first doctor comes in, which is not my OB. She comes in just to check me, and she's kind of looking for the heartbeat. And I'm huge. There's no reason why you should be looking that hard for a heartbeat. But I'm like, okay, maybe he's just, too big. Like, I don't know. I'm like thinking of all these things laying there of every reason why there's no heartbeat. And then she walks out. She gets my OB. They come back in, and they're like, all right, let's see if we can find a heartbeat. And no heartbeat. All right, can we get the ultrasound in here? And I'm like, wait, you guys had an ultrasound here this whole time? I had no idea, because when I first came, you would think she would try to check me for, like check the baby, an ultrasound. Or
So
do something.
you had never got an ultrasound?
No, never with her. I've always had to go get an
Oh, I
ultrasound.
see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's another thing, is that you don't get, if you're not high risk, you don't really get like that many ultrasounds,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're like, I feel like unless you are high risk or you ask for them, but it's also going to cost you. So I'm like, okay. So then pulls it out, does it, and baby's no movement. I'm like, I look, and I can clearly see there's no movement, and they're just quiet. And I just grab her, and I'm like, you need to like tell me right now. And she told me, yeah, there's no heartbeat, there's no movement. I'm like, get me up, like get me the hell, just get me up. So I grab my phone, call my husband, call my mom, call his mom, and they're on their way. Everybody's on their way. Get rushed to the hospital across the way, which is UMC. We get rushed to UMC, and they're doing another ultrasound. One of the doctors, I was freaking out. So one of the nurses, or I don't know who it was, but they were all surrounding me, and they're trying to hook me up to all these things. And someone was like, wait, we might, and I'm like waiting. And then there was like a moment of hope. And then it was like, no, that's just, mom is just under tremendous stress and freaking out. So I'm like, okay. So I like scream, and I'm like, get him out of me, cut him out of me. I need to hold my baby. I think I waited the whole pregnancy because I didn't want to see his face on 3D. I wanted to see his face when he came out of me, and I wanted to hold him and see his face. And man, that's the one thing I do regret, is not like seeing him on 3D, because he was not the baby. I think he, like when he came out, he was unalive. So like,
Yeah.
it was just not who, I don't know. It's just weird. But yeah, so then I told them, cut him out of me. I need him out. I need to hold him. Move. They're like, no, you have to be induced. I'm like, what? I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm like, wait, I have to push him out. Like, why do I have to go through pregnancy? Why do I have to go through labor and delivery? Just get him out of me. I want to hold him. And
Right.
they're like, no, you have to be induced. And I don't know why in that moment, why they said that. But looking back now, it's like, okay, you want to have more kids. We don't want to do an emergency. We not want to have to do a C-section unless we have to. So moving, so like for the future, I can be able to have my next child, or you know, vaginally. So I was like, okay. So I went through the whole induction, and yeah, my mom, sister showed up. That was tough, but I think I don't know what really took over me in that moment, but um, I was just like, this is mine. I'm gonna accept it. Like my mom had her kids, my sister had her kids, and I don't think anyone in my family's ever experienced anything like this. So it was like, this is mine. I'll accept it. I'll take it. This is mine. And I don't even know why I said that to my mom or why I like was feeling those feelings, but I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what I was preparing myself for. But I was naturally, my body, my mind, I was naturally preparing myself for to go through 3 hours of delivery and like near death, basically.
Yeah.
I didn't know until hours later. Now I'm pushing, and so after mother came through, I'm being induced. We're getting to the point now where they're coming in and they're telling me, we think you should get an epidural. And I'm like, it sucks. Like I still want to have it naturally. I tried to still set the mood as if, my plan, like how I had planned to have my baby. I still wanted to set that mood to have him naturally, do all these things. And they were like, we think you should get an epidural. I'm like, what the heck? Why? And they're like, well, he's not alive. You're going to do all this work and your body's going to go through all this. Just it's not going to be a reward at the end. And I looked at my sister who had all her kids naturally, and she looked defeated and was just like, nodded, like, you need to get the epidural. I'm like, oh my gosh, so they epidural me. They hooked me up put the tube in my back. And all right, now fast forward. Now we're starting to push. Let's go. I'm ready. Doctor's ready. We're pushing. Mind you, the doctor that's delivering my baby is not my doctor. My doctor completely separated herself from the whole situation. Still did not see her ever again until never saw her again. So this doctor now is like not even my doctor. The nurse that was there the whole time, amazing nurse. She, like, I probably would have been dead if she was not my nurse. Like, but fast forwarding it, doctor's there. All right, let's go push. Now they're saying, all right, well, you're numb. Baby's not live. He's not moving through the birth canal. He's not moving through. So we need to take the epidural off. I'm like, what the hell? So now I'm feeling everything and pushing, and nothing's happening. Now my body's like giving out, like giving up, and I'm just laying there. And only time I could do anything is when I felt the epidurals. And I felt the contraction. I'm like, okay, time to push. I got to the point to where I've been pushing for 3 hours, and my body's not contracting anymore. And I'm out of it. I'm like blacking out. Literally blacked out. And they're telling me to just lay back and relax and just rest, because we don't know you need to save your energy because we don't know what's going to happen next. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, cool. I'm out. I went to sleep. Waking up, not really knowing what's going on. I see my husband on one side. I see my sister on the other side. They're both at the edge of my feet, and the nurse is right here. And I remember looking up and like waking up and being like, come on guys, let's get this baby out of me. Like totally forgetting where I was, what was happening. And like, let's go team, go, like gotta push. And they're like looking at me like I'm a crazy woman. Like, Jaeda, no, like you have to relax. You have to rest. Like we have not been able to get him out of you. And they can't get him out. And I'm like, what? And they're like, no, we can't get him out. They've cut me. I've ripped at this point, like been on epidural, been off. Still can't get the guy out. Fast forward, another doctor comes in. They call another doctor in, and she just looks at the scene and just looks disgusted and just reaches inside of me, turns him and pulls him out. And he's out. And I was like, what if that doctor, what was there was like nothing else you guys could have done? Like, I don't know. I feel like it was very much like, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what. I just know that my sister, like, going back and talking to my family about it and talking to my husband and my sister, they didn't even want to speak on it. Like they were, I'm like, well, he came out. Like I'm still kind of like loopy and, not really processing the situation. And even to this day, they're like, we thought you were going to die. We were literally preparing each other to like lose you. And I was like, what? And then they're like, the nurse was like the only reason why, like, she was like there for all three of us, like rubbing me, telling me, all right, time to relax, time to go. Like, and then my sister and my husband are just literally like in just shock the whole time. So then after that, baby comes out, wrapping him up. I look, Lord knows, crazy. Pushed for 3 hours, so my eyes were bulged out of my face. Um, I looked like a freaking train wreck, and then now everyone's kind of like walking around like awkward, and there's no sign of umbilical cord around baby's neck. There's like no real sign of like any reason. Like placenta looks good. Everyone's kind of like all right, like kind of easing back, and I'm still out of it. This is what I'm getting from my mother-in-law and my sister and my husband, what they told me. And yeah, I just felt like it was very much like, all right, she had the baby. Let's kind of separate ourselves from the situation now, because I have no idea why they do that, but it was very cold. It felt very cold. It felt like, all right, let's leave them in there and then we'll come get the baby when ready. And then that, like, there was no, after that, it was like, no, like, hey, what do you guys need? Like, these are like resources, anything. It was just like, all right, we're going to just backpedal out. And yeah, and that was pretty much it. I got an hour with him, and yeah, they took him away. Yeah, and my heart literally ripped out of my chest. So I try everything not to cry, but yeah, it was
It was
tough. And then
traumatic.
very traumatic. And I didn't realize how traumatic it was until I got home. I got home and I didn't have him, and I was like, wow, I did 8 months, and I've been robbed. I feel robbed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my story.
Well, I mean, I'm really
Sucky
sorry that
story.
you, it is a sucky story. I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm also sorry that, like, the medical professionals, it didn't seem like, besides you said the nurse was great, but it didn't seem like
Yeah.
they were, I don't know. Do you have insight?
It
Yeah.
sounds like well, like you said, you didn't even see your doctor. Um, this is really hard, but I definitely how you said that they I don't know if they didn't have training for how to cope or handle patients with
Yeah.
infant loss, but I know in situations like that, we don't just backpedal out. We're not like, see ya. We're like, what can I do for
Yeah.
you? Here are the things that I'm going to do right now. Let me know what you need from me. If you have any questions, and we don't even have time limits on our moms with their babies. Like when you said you just had an hour with him, I don't know
Yeah.
if you just wanted an hour or were they like, just take as much time as you want. So yeah,
Yeah. I did get that vibe of like, you can have time with him. And then it was just like, it was time. I think it was just time. It was like one of those, like, they came in to check on us and it was like, are you guys? And it was like, it was time. Because after that, it probably did get a little creepy. I
Yeah.
think it got to the point where it was like, we're just sitting around and we're holding him and we're taking pictures of,
yeah.
and it's just like, wait, yeah. So I think it was just
It's
more
super hard.
time. It was time.
You don't even know how you're going to react or necessarily the right things to do. It's just hard. But yeah, the whole it seems like you felt like you needed more support after that or some type of
Yeah.
guidance. Like, I mean, absolutely, you just went through something so traumatic and it's so shocking. So, sounds like maybe they needed more training
Yeah. Yeah.
or maybe I don't know, maybe the
Yeah.
nurse has didn't have much experience with that or something like that.
Yeah. Jada,
Yeah.
do you feel like when you got home, you said that that's like is that like when it hit you of what happened, or was it more like days, weeks, year, you know?
Um, I was more angry like when I was in the hospital. They moved us over to like transfer room or something, and I'm like, why am I here? Like I gotta go home. So I'm like angry, like let me out. Like so I leave, and then I get home, and I'm like out. I just feel I felt so exposed. I don't know, man. I felt embarrassed. I felt I don't know when like I can't even.
It's okay if you
Yeah,
cry.
it was. I don't even know. Yeah, it hit me more when I got home because when I get home, my whole family's there, like everyone, and you know, your mom and your they're supposed to comfort you. Like they comfort me, and I feel like they had nothing. Like for your mom, like they have nothing to say. Like there's nothing that they could say. And I think that that's when it's like, oh, this is really shitty. Like it's not like it's really shitty because yeah, it's someone that always has something to say. For instance, my grandma, she's really religious. She always has something to say about God, reasons why. And I like to think I had a really healthy relationship with God growing up. So I'm like, why? Why? And for her to just be like, I have to like, I'm like, okay, sweet.
Yeah. There's just
So
no
I think
like,
that that's when it really hit me.
yeah. There's just no
Yeah.
uh I mean, even if there was like a something to say to you, it would never feel good enough anyway. Like there's nothing you
Yeah.
can say, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um I had a friend that went through something similar, and I don't know all the details cuz she hasn't shared it with me, and I would never want to pry on something like that, but when you first told me your story, I was like, I'm like excited for you to tell it in a sense, because I know
Yeah.
now three people that have been through something very similar. And I do feel like there's not a ton of education on it, but also I'm not in that space. And so I don't know, like, Anna,
Yeah.
does it happen a lot, or is it, I mean, I'm sure it all depends on
Yeah, it all
so many things.
depends. I don't work at a high risk hospital, and what she was saying is that she was a low risk pregnancy, right? Isn't that what you said? So,
Yeah.
often one formal ultrasound is what is done in a low risk pregnancy. So, um, yeah, since you were saying they didn't do ultrasounds in the office, but what I was wondering is that did they talk about kick counts with you after a certain gestation? They should have educated you about, okay, these are how many kicks that you should feel the baby be doing in an hour, and if you notice any decrease, you should call your doctor's
Yeah.
office, stuff like that.
No, it was more so just he moves we eat or drink then. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, how does that feel? Like now that I've been pregnant and with him, I knew exactly when this kid was gonna kick. I know if I ate this, if I drank this, oh, it's this time of day, he's gonna get started. Like after that, I was just like so honed. I was so like into myself, my body, and like just focusing on him. Then like I could feel everything, and I was like, this is amazing. This is completely different than my first pregnancy. I can't even remember the last time I felt like it was. I just wasn't. I was just on the go. I was just moving, and I just don't think I focused really on my body as a 25-year-old, like pregnant and just preparing to give birth, and then move to Texas. Like so many things, I feel like went into play that could like if I was, I don't know, if maybe I focused more, if I was just relaxed more in a better space, maybe then I could have been able to like really focus on him. I don't know. I think of all these
Yeah,
scenarios.
of course you think about that, but honestly, you did nothing wrong. There was nothing that you did was wrong.
Yeah.
What did they do differently for you in your second pregnancy because you had a history of an infant loss?
Yeah. So I'll start with what I did differently. I did research on every doctor in the North Austin area, and I would like to think that I didn't want to count out every black woman. I was like, okay, I still want to go with a black doctor. Like I still want that. So I did that, and I went with a doctor that was a black woman, and it was amazing. And she differently, every appointment I had sat down. She sat down. Like, we'll be done checking baby's heart rate, checking belly, and she would just grab the chair and just sit. And I'm like, what is she doing? I'm like, oh, she just wants to see how I'm doing, just checking in on me. Got to the point to where this person is someone, like, we got so comfortable that I was like, oh wait, we could probably get drinks after this if we really wanted to, but I'm pregnant, so we can't. And like, that's was the level, like, that's the difference, was that she cared, I want to say, or I had better insurance, or I don't know what maybe it was, but I did take my time on, like, picking my doctor, and I got lucky that I didn't have to switch, and I found someone
Yeah.
that cared.
For sure, that makes a huge difference. I mean, not every provider, not every nurse is the same. Some are completely burnt out. It
Yeah,
sounds like maybe you felt like a number more so with your first experience, and the second time around,
yeah,
you actually felt like they treated you like a human and not just a number
Yeah.
on that piece of paper. And
yeah,
that's
yep,
great that you did research. That when people ask me, what's a good doctor, what's a good provider around my area? Obviously, if I don't live there, I can't refer them. But I always say either ask your other mom friends because they will know, or obviously go online and see any reviews. And doing your research to find the right provider is definitely important. And I know you said you switched with your first one, but you can always switch you know, if you really didn't connect with your provider. And you should know pretty
yeah,
fast.
yep, yep. So these are things that, like, I didn't even know I could switch to begin with until I'm talking with my sister, and she's like, "Well, switch doctors then." And I'm like, "Wait, you can do that? Like, what?" And she's like, "Yes, at any point in your pregnancy, like you can switch." And so I'm like,
I
"Okay."
think
And so that's why I did that the first
I
time.
think
But
this goes to
yeah,
show like there's not a lot of education. Like me and Anna know this because we work in healthcare. And so we see it day in and day out.
yeah,
I don't see patients who are pregnant by any means, but I have other patients that come in and they don't like their ICU doctor. So we can switch him. But nobody realizes that they have that right, that right as a patient, that you don't have to stick with them just because they're the doctor. And also, and this is obviously
yeah,
doesn't go across all doctors, but just like with nurses, there's bad doctors, there's bad teachers, there's one in every pot. But if you feel uncomfortable with them for any way, you can request a new doctor, and sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's frustrating, but it would could be for the best, you
yeah,
know. But I
yeah,
also wanted to touch on, like, you sound like you blame yourself a lot, but you were just young. You didn't know. Like,
mm,
you don't know what you don't know.
yeah, yeah. I have moments where I go back and forth. Like, I think for me to heal, I had to um, tell myself it was not like, I know I did nothing wrong. I know that. But when you're sitting there and you're going back and you're like, I'm supposed to have he's supposed to have a big brother. Like, we should have two kids. Like, I just think back. I'm like, just, I don't know. But I have moments where I step back into it. I'm like, if I just did this, maybe. But I know ultimately I was in the best shape of my life. I just came off of, like, training for volleyball, and, like, I'm like best shape. Like, there's no reason why. Like, I was
Yeah.
healthy. I was a healthy adult. Like, so, it goes back and forth. But
I do want to
his face is nice.
I do want to add, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of, we call them fetal demises. Oftentimes,
Yeah,
we have no idea why it happens. Like, again, it's a lot of
yeah,
times with a young, healthy woman, and baby comes out, uh, you know, the umbilical cord looks fine, the placenta looks fine. Most of the time, they're
yeah,
like, we have no idea why this happened.
It's sad. That's similar
yeah,
to my friend that happened to as well. There were no answers, and I think that for her, and maybe for you too. I can't speak for everyone, but that's probably one of the hardest parts is there's no like closure. So your
yeah.
mind just spins and goes with every
Oh, yeah,
possibility.
the thing that kind of puts me at ease is that when I had him, when I was pregnant with him, it was a completely different pregnancy. And it's like, okay, like this isn't like at first I had to like put on big girl pants. I was like, I can't let that I can't let that shit pull me down. I'm about to have my kids. I want a fucking baby. I want to have my family, so I'm gonna get pregnant. And then I was pregnant and I was like, oh shit, this is a lot, this anxiety. But when I was pregnant with him, it was completely different. And then when he comes out, he's looking me dead in my face. Like it was very like he's very angelic. Like I really feel like he was sent like from his brother. It was so it's like that does put me at like I'm like okay, this guy is like definitely a gift. So I'm like all right, we're all right. At moments I'm like we're gonna be all right. Like we are
Yeah.
okay.
I
So
love that for you.
thanks. Shout out to
I
Major.
know. Yeah, for real. Shout out to Major.
Thanks.
He's, if you guys are watching on YouTube, you probably got a little glimpse of him. He's really cute.
So cute.
Well, I did want to add as well something that you taught me that, well, I started looking up after you told me your story initially. I was like, I know nothing about this because I don't work ICU, or I work ICU. I don't work with maternal health. I don't even know if I'm using like the right terms because I like don't work in it. And so I looked it up and it says
Yeah.
in 2021, they found that the maternal mortality rate for non-Hispanic Black women is 2.6 times higher than white women. And rates for Black women were significantly higher than rates for white or Hispanic women. And I just find that interesting. It goes back to making me feel like there's not enough education out there or even knowledge about it because I had no clue. I don't remember learning that in nursing school particularly. Did you know anything about that?
I did not
Yeah.
learn that in nursing school, but obviously in the field,
Yeah.
I am aware.
Yeah.
For sure. And then we even have modules,
Yeah.
online modules at
Really?
the hospital specifically about Black pregnant women.
Does it explain more? Is it
It
has
just says
to do with everything probably?
everything socioeconomic, like where you live, education, lots and lots of things.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
which is unfortunate.
It's a range of
Yeah.
reasons. It's yeah, it's crazy. It could be like it's just a big range of reasons why Black women are higher. Like we are high, like we're more susceptible. Is that the word?
susceptible.
To
Yeah.
preeclampsia? Yeah. To like so like that's just one thing. And like then there's education. Like we don't talk about sex in most Black households. It's like no, don't talk about it because then you're gonna be having sex when you have a baby. Like then you have Medicaid and like it's just
So many
everything
things.
in one.
One thing I can relate
Yeah.
that on is in my field in the ICU that we have modules on Black patients are more likely to not be heard or listened to about their pain tolerance or about their pain that they're having. And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like every time I see those or I read about it or I hear about it, I'm like, surely not, right? Because I wouldn't treat someone different. You know what I mean? Based on, but clearly racism is still alive. It's
Yeah.
still
Yes.
prevalent. It's still here. And it's really unfortunate because it's like, when I
Yep.
read those modules, I'm like, who's ruining this for everyone? Because I wouldn't treat you different because of your skin color. If you tell me you're in pain, it's really not my, it's not my job to judge if I believe it or not. I'm supposed to just act on it. So I just get, it's sad that it's happened. It happens across healthcare, regardless of which specialty you're in.
Yeah.
I was just going to bring up a couple more things about it. Jaeda showed me that, I mean, this isn't just happening like in our hometowns and whatnot. This has happened with celebrities as well. Serena Williams is one of the more famous ones it's happened to.
Yeah. Serena Williams was a situation of emergency C-section, I think, and she she had like some concerns because things weren't going like clearly she had the education, right? So she's asking questions like, I need this, I need that, or something. And this, can you guys check me for this or something in that along the lines of that? And it was kind of brushed off. And then her C-section wound opened. And thankfully they did because then they found out, you have to read on it. They found out that she was like a chance of like could
Yeah.
possibly die if that didn't happen because they found blood clogs or something. It
Yeah,
was, yeah. It is another
it
upsetting
is upsetting. It
situation. Like,
says,
why is that happening to Serena
right. It's,
Williams?
I mean, it's happening like, that's what I was trying to say. Like, it's not just like, we're all people, but it's like happening to everyone, celebrities included, which is just kind of crazy because like you just don't think
Yeah.
about it that way until you see it in your face. But yeah, she said the logic for not starting the blood thinners was that it could cause my C-section wound to bleed, which is still true, but I felt it was important and kept pressing. All the while, I was in excruciating pain, couldn't move her legs, her back, or anything. Do you know if her baby pass as well? I don't know terminology, so I get nervous.
No,
I'm not familiar.
no, her baby, no,
Just
her baby's alive. Yeah, but
but yeah, there's story after story if you Google it, which is just sad, honestly.
yeah.
Is there anything you want to share more? Like if there's something you could tell someone else that's going through this or has been through it or anything?
Yeah, I just want to just touch on the fact that like the process after, like, okay, you just went through the worst thing in your life. All right, what's next? Because if you don't think like what's next, like depression is real, postpartum is even realer. So, like, what's next? Next is okay, you have to heal clearly. And the way I did was accepting what happened to me, going through every emotion. I was angry, I was sad. Um, try not to blame yourself. I know it's very hard, and you're going to go through every little thing that could possibly have changed or went wrong. It's not going to help. Um, if you believe in God, whatever you believe in, hold on to it and like just go right through it. So angry, sad, like go right through it and feel every emotion. And I think that that's like the best way to go about something like this. It should just
Yeah.
feel it all. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be some shitty days, but just go through it. And yeah, and that's really what I have. You have to just feel it. Just
I feel
feel
like you're
it,
supposed to go through,
scream, do
you're
whatever.
definitely supposed to go through the 5 stages of grief. When, like you said, when you first got home, you were angry, you
Yeah,
were already going through the first stage. And it's totally normal and
yeah,
appropriate and okay to feel all those things and to ask questions and to be angry and to just be grieving. It's okay to do that.
yeah,
Do you have any last touches?
yeah.
Anything you want
Well,
to?
I think, like she was saying, I think it's really important to let your emotions out and just feel versus holding them back, especially if you are that kind of person who doesn't like showing emotions. It's really important to go through all the ups and downs. I know that there are some support groups too. If you feel, of course, you're going to feel alone. Like, not a lot of people go through what you went through. So there are support groups out there if you just look online. I know someone who went through it, and she went to like this resort with all these moms who went through it. So, just reach out
Oh
to
wow.
support group or find a support group too, because they're out there. And I think that can help a lot of people with their mental health if they feel like they need more support, because, you can talk to someone about it, but there's a different connection and bond and support when it comes to talking to
Yes.
someone who's gone through exactly what you've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. There's
Yes.
also support groups on
Yes. Yes.
Facebook,
That is true.
tons of them. Because after you told me that, I went and looked on
Like,
Facebook and I
yeah.
was like, there you can, if you Google or search on Facebook, they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, kind of I wouldn't say a more sad episode because I am excited that for you that you're able to share your story because it is hard. And I know that for me, talking about things that have happened in my life has always helped me because it feels like I'm helping someone else. And you're definitely helping other women by telling your story. So I just want to thank you for being on here. And yeah, any last words from either? I already said that, but
Sweet. Thank
Thank
yeah,
you
you for
for
having
sharing your
me.
story.
Thank
absolutely.
you for having me. Of course, this is
Yeah.
big, man. This is big. I don't think I talked about it to many people. I think the people that know, and the people that don't, just don't know. Like family knows and close
Yeah.
friends know the detail, but I don't think everyone else knows the skill
Yeah.
of it. So
Well,
sweet. Thanks
absolutely.
for
I
having
love
me.
you. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them in. But that's all I've got for this episode. So, bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.